Hello and welcome back to the Restricted View podcast.
Hello everybody, I'm Chris.
And I am Deborah.
And I think we have to apologise. We are late this week.
Yes.
We had a really good reason and now it looks like we don't. Due to circumstances beyond our control.
Yeah, but we were making up for it.
Yeah, so what happened basically was we basically had a busy week and we were going to be a day late, and then we said, oh well, actually if we now make an additional day late, we'll have seen it. We'll have seen a show because we were about to see a show that night. So we thought, oh, it's a day late. Let's make it 2 days late and get this review out while it's still fresh. But then, unfortunately, due to COVID, the show we were going to see was cancelled.
Yes, I was all ready to go out.
Yeah.
And got an email.
Deborah put her face on.
Put my face on. Put my shoes. And, you know.
And I had a shower for once.
It's a rare occurrence.
We were ready to go out. Unfortunately, we got instead we had to stay in watching telly instead of going to see a show, which was a great pity. But and it also means that now we don't have that review.
No, but we do have a list.
Yeah, so we're going to do the list that we were going to do before we saw the opportunity to get this review. And so we're going to rebook the show. We have a couple of shows lined up this weekend as well, so we'll have a review for you next week. But in the meantime, it's going to be another list. But as I always say, I suspect people even prefer the list because everyone loves the list.
Exactly. Yes, and we also have a fun discussion, I think.
Yes, quite a fun one.
Quite excited about that.
To get the blood boiling.
For some.
For some.
Yes, definitely for us.
And of course, as always, we got some news, we got our reaction to some news, and we got some tips. So without any further ado, let's crack on into the news. So on into the news section. Few pieces to discuss this week. First, let's get the sad news out of the way first. So we mentioned that we couldn't go to the show we were planning on reviewing, which we will now reveal what it was. You can look forward to our review of Be More Chill.
Yeah, we had really good seats.
Yeah, for a very good price, just like Dear Evan Hansen.
Yeah.
And we've been given a very small voucher.
So we pay very little.
Yeah, I know,
in fairness.
but we've lost the great seats.
That's true.
It's really fun. I think actually theatres should actually give you the same seats for an alternate performance and stop this refund process. You should have the option to refund or get equivalent seats for a subsequent performance.
You should be able to get equivalent seats. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
because I've heard of other people saying that they missed out on good seats that they paid less for. So
it's happened to us twice, and it's very frustrating. But so keep an eye out for our Be More Chill review, which will be coming as soon as we manage to rebook and go see that. But Be More Chill is unfortunately closed at present due to a COVID case. It will reopen on the 19th of August.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be closed for still over a week, actually, at time of recording. The Lion King is also currently closed. That's reopening. It's actually reopening on the 17th. So it's closed until the 15th. They don't perform on Mondays. So they're not performing on the 16th. 17th is actually technically reopening, but it's sold out on the 17th. So that's kind of useless for those of you who don't already have tickets. So it's opening effectively on the 18th for those of you who wish to go and see The Lion King. And then... So this is due to both these were due to COVID.
Yes. So as it is now, I think rules are due to change on the 16th of August. So at the moment, if you get pinged, it means that you've been in contact with someone who had COVID, and even if you test negative, you still have to isolate for 10 days from that contact, and that's why these shows close. Because if any member of the production team or any actor, if anyone gets tested, if anyone is test positive, and even if everyone else tests negative, they still have to isolate for 10 days.
Yeah. So the 16th, that policy is going to change. That if you get a negative PCR test, you're good to go. Basically.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I think that's why, for example, Andrew Lloyd Webber decided to wait to reopen Cinderella until after that because he didn't want to have to close the show.
Whereas Hairspray obviously got that additional cast members in off site, which was really cool. But so basically, as long as we can avoid more cases over the next 5 or 6 days, hopefully Be More Chill and Lion King will be the last.
I wonder what happens if they get pinged a couple of days before. Do they have to isolate for 10 days?
Yes, probably, because the policy won't have changed until the 16th.
Yeah.
So most likely. But yeah, so look, hopefully Be More Chill and Lion King will be the last ones to close, as Be More Chill's reopening on the 19th of August, Lion King's reopening on the 17th, with tickets available from the 18th of August. And then on to our reaction to slightly more upbeat news. We have already discussed, everybody's talking about Jamie, the film, coming to Amazon Prime.
This weekend, on the 17th. Oh, sorry, not this weekend, next week. I'm a bit confused about dates. It is the...
Yes, it's not currently September, even though summer does seem to be over. So everybody's talking about Jamie is dropping on the 17th September.
Yes.
On Amazon Prime, or Prime Video, whatever it's called. And the reason we're rediscussing it is because the new trailer dropped yesterday.
Yes, and it was a really exciting trailer. It looks really good.
Yeah, I much prefer it to the old trailer. I don't know why. The original trailer didn't really get me going at all. I mean, I've mentioned, I think everybody told me I enjoyed it. Went to see it once, enjoyed it. No particular inclination to go see it again. I might see it once again at some point. And I enjoyed it, but I saw the film. I was like, yeah, I'll go see it because I liked the musical, but I'm not super excited. But for some reason, that trailer we watched last night, I don't know, the trailer was really good. It got me excited.
Good, yeah, it looks good. I think the trailer managed to.
I really like the kid. I shouldn't call him kid. The individual playing
Jamie.
I don't know. Maybe the first trailer just didn't give him. Just didn't sell him to me.
I think the
but
second...
I really liked him in this trailer for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the second trailer managed to show a bit of the humor of the show as well.
The humor, and also, I misheard you, but put in my head, the human.
The human of the show.
I quite liked, the new trailer kind of showed him performing, so it's, as not in full drag, but kind of gave us a glimpse of what we're going to see of him. And I thought he did a really good job, and it also kind of gave us some heartfelt scenes.
Yeah, and have some.
Which the last one did as well. But for some reason, didn't endear me to him. The last one, but this one did.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Better put together trailer.
I'm so excited about it that I am wishing the time to go faster because I clearly thought that we were in September.
You want summer to be over?
What summer? We're in the UK. There's barely any summer.
But yeah, go check out the new trailer of Everybody's Talking About Jamie. It's on YouTube. I don't know where else it is, but we saw it on YouTube. Looks really, really good.
It does, yeah.
And it's dropping on the 17th of... I've forgotten again.
September.
But yeah, we're really excited. Me more so, having seen the second trailer, so I do recommend checking it out.
So as mentioned before... today from the cheap seats section, we have a list, and it's an interesting one because I think we kind of mentioned, we talked about bits of it. I think in previous episodes we kind of made nods to it, and this time we compiled the list.
It's more that it's inspired by something Deborah said in our last list, which was our top 5. Last list was top 5 favorite musicals.
Yes.
And Deborah mentioned kind of a positive of one of your shows being that it doesn't have any song you want to skip.
Yes, so we made a list of skips.
Top 5 skips, which means that if you're the number 1, you're actually the worst one.
Oh dear, I don't think I ordered this properly.
You have to order your list. It means the number 5 is the song that I'm most willing to listen to, and number 1 is the song that I really, really want to skip. And this is if you're listening to the soundtrack, but also, frankly, if it ends up on this list, it probably means that if Mike was able to, I'd make the actor skip it on the police stage too. Even
if it furthers the plot, you don't care.
Well, that's the interesting thing is none of these do further the plot because it's always the boring arias are always the ones that don't further the plot. But in addition to that, I've tried to. So I think this has more meaning if it comes from a show you like. It's a bit rubbish. I mean, there's a show I don't like, then almost all the songs are skips.
Yes.
So these are shows I generally speaking like. Also, a few honorable mentions, which last week my honorable mentions were very much not cheats. At 6, 7, and 8, this time I got less justification for that. But they're not 6, 7, 8. They're just no. They're not cheats. And here's why they're not cheats, because they're not skips. They were almost skips, but got away on a technicality.
Yeah, and I'm the one who always cheats.
Do you want to hear my skip? My cheats? My cheats? My Freudian slip. Do you want to hear my honorable mentions first or last?
First.
Okay.
Because I don't have them.
Okay, I've got 2 honorable mentions.
I'm playing by the rules, Chris.
Okay, for once. So 2 honorable mentions. One is not on the list because I don't know. It's just very inoffensive ultimately, and also I don't think the musical's quite well enough known. With "Believe in Yourself" from Half a Sixpence.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I would skip that too.
It's kind of really boring. It's on the CD for some reason, even though it's basically not a song.
Not a great song, no.
But that was just a throwaway. The real honorable mention is actually from Hamilton. Hamilton, no song made the list. Hurricane almost did. And I think there's a few reasons for this. One, Lin-Manuel Miranda's vocal performance of it is genuinely appalling. and it's the only song that Hamilton sings. What's that? Actually, that's not true. Dear Theodosia as well. Dear Theodosia,
It's Quiet
say,
Uptown. But he has help from the cast in It's
no,
Quiet Uptown. There's a
Quiet
lot of...
Uptown is led by Angelica.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true.
And his moments that he sings in it are when he's heartbroken.
Yeah.
And it's fine that he's not singing very well.
And the chorus helps a lot.
Hurricane is very much is kind of his only kind of sing solo song. It is saved by the fact that it's incredibly short.
I like Hurricane, so I
like the idea of it, and also it picks up after about a minute, and the melody shifts a lot, and I like the new melody. However, the opening melody of Hurricane is flat, it's boring, and I've never heard it perform well. Even Ash Hunter, who is my favourite Hamilton, who performs it very admirably because he's a very good performer and a very good singer, he still can't really do a whole lot with it. Because it's rubbish. It's not a good song. I don't like it.
How is this not on your list?
Because it's so short. It's in the grand scheme. Hamilton's a long musical, and Hurricane's maybe only about a minute and a half long. And the bit of it that I really hate is only the first 45 seconds. The second half of it is actually all right, and also that's in the chorus enjoying and helping a bit. But like Ash Hunter gave a fine vocal performance on it, but it's a bad song which he can't really do a whole lot with.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's my honorable mention. People are going to hate me for that one, but there you go.
Hamilton didn't make my list.
Should we get you to start?
I'll start.
Since I sort of started with
not that will mean anything, because somehow you'll mention my one before and they'll have crossover somehow, and you always mention it first.
I'm not sure. There's one that definitely will. Two I'm convinced will not be on your list.
Okay, so my number 5 is one I actually mentioned before, and that's what I was also referring to earlier when I mentioned this, when I said that we talked about this before. And one of my skips is Heart of Stone. Sung by Jane Seymour.
Oh my god!
I know.
You're the worst human being in the world.
I know.
Because you don't like a song from Six.
Yeah, as I said this before, if I'm going to listen to the Six soundtrack, I want to listen to upbeat music. And I don't want a power ballad. If I want power ballads, I'm just going to go listen to Adele. And I don't really like that song. I don't think I agree with you. I don't think it fits very well. And I'm going to bring Lucia into this. My friend and I went to see Six, and when we came out of the theater, she was like, "I wasn't too keen on that song. It's a bit dull. I'm kind of over power ballads." And I kind of agree with her. I think it's
she's a musical background as well.
She does, yeah.
So.
And she really loved the show as well. But I think it's just that particular song is just a bit. It brings it down a bit.
Yeah. It isn't even one of the lines she sings is "You can't bring me down," I think, isn't it? Or "You do something like that.
I don't know. I always skip it.
I'm unbreakable and all this. Yeah, I have nothing to add to this. It's a 5 out of 10 perfectly serviceable ballad.
Yeah, so look, that's why it's my number 5. It's not the worst one, and I will listen to it, and I don't wish it away, especially during Six, since it's such a short show as well.
You rewatched this since we discussed this.
Yeah.
Did it fit? Was it less egregious in the actual full-on stage performance than it is on the CD?
Yeah. Because obviously it's kind of you're into it, and it's not a very long show, so it just kind of works, I think.
But that means a higher percentage of it is wasted.
That's very true.
That's one of the reasons Hurricane doesn't make the list, because it's a long show and such a short song, and only half of it I hate.
Fair enough, but still number 5. It's not that bad. It's not that I dislike it. It's just that I don't want to. It's, as I said, if I'm going to listen to the Six soundtrack, and I do listen to musical soundtracks a lot, I don't want to listen to that song because I'll be looking for cheerful and upbeat songs.
Well, let me ask you something. When was the last time you listened to the Book of Mormon soundtrack?
A long, long time ago.
Is the
in a galaxy far, far away.
That's what made me think of. You mean the Bible is actually a trilogy, and Book of Mormon is Return of the Jedi? I'm interested. It's not that song. That's a quote from the All American Prophet, which is a fantastic number. But my number 5 is a song from Book of Mormon. Can you guess which one it is?
It's probably one that's on my list.
Oh, is it one on your list?
Yes.
Is it Salt Lake Cassiti?
Yes.
Is it your number 4?
No.
Oh, that's annoying. Okay.
Well, moving on. Sorry, I'm joking.
This is one of the ones I was convinced would not be on your list.
Oh, I don't particularly like that song. I think the good thing about that song is that it's at the end of the first act, so I know it's coming and I can go to the toilet, or like I can get ready to go to the toilet.
Well, I wouldn't recommend that because you'll miss Man Up.
Oh, that's true.
which is the best
Haven't
song.
seen Book of Mormon in a long time, but it's towards the end, isn't it?
I think it's definitely towards the end of the first act. It might even be immediately before. I think there's a dialogue scene between it and Man Up.
I think
In
I don't.
fact, there is. There actually is definitely. Is.
I think I don't like that song because it's. I mean, this is. You should be talking about it. I'll talk about it when it comes to my.
Sure.
To my
Okay.
turn.
Well, the main reason I don't like it is because, first of all, it's not. It's one of the weakest songs. This is probably a personal taste thing because it's always the kind of it's always the kind of lovesick outpour of emotion songs that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
Which this actually isn't. I mean, as far as Nabulungi is not actually singing about a person. She's she's lovesick about a sense of place, a sense of belonging.
Yeah,
and it's the same principle, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and also she is. I think she does. There is an element of feelings for Elder Cunningham already at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those lovesick ballads. And I'm not talking about soppiness, but I don't know. I just find those lovesick ballads a bit boring. And compared to all the other very fun music in Book of Mormon, it really stands out. A bit like Heart of Stone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the main reason, I think the most egregious thing about it is Book of Mormon is hilarious. And the joke of this song is that she can't pronounce English words properly. Well,
yeah.
Sorry, it's not that she can't pronounce them. It's that she's misheard them and she's misunderstood where. So the song is called Salt Lake City, which is Salt Lake City. So she heard Salt, and basically it's that. Just the funny part is that over and over again.
Yeah, I think.
And you can hear in the audience when you're sitting there. Every time she sings Salt Lake City, the laughter gets less. It's like first time she says like, oh, that's funny, and then next time it's like,
yeah, I think.
And she mispronounced a couple of other words, like she pronounced it Utah instead of Utah, and it's like
you can't like
the Salt Lake City one is kind of funny, but like Utah is like I can see an African who doesn't speak perfect English reading Utah as Utah.
Yeah, I could see anyone who's never actually heard the word pronouncing it like that if they only seen it written down.
Exactly. So the humor is kind of
lost
it's
a bit.
The same joke over and over again. It's not a particularly good joke.
I'll have to. I was gonna wait, but I won't because I'm too impatient. My problem with the song is that it feels very sincere in a show that is not sincere.
I think that's part of why it's funny though, as well.
I don't think it works.
I agree. It doesn't really work. I think that its sincerity is actually part of its attempted humor. And it works to some extent, I guess.
Yeah, I don't particularly like it. I think I think there could have been a better song for her. But I think they tried to write a song for her because they probably needed to get the female lead, let's say, to have a song. I think she could have had a better song. It could have had the same sentiment because she's also, cause as you said, she's not lovesick about Elder Cunningham. It's about this place she wants to go to. It's about the hope she has in that religion that she was taught. So I think it could have been better. I think that there's more potential for jokes because when we have, I guess comparable in a way to I Believe. There's some sincerity in it but it's so funny, and it's such a great song.
I Believe is funny because it absolutely, completely, 100% commits to sincerity.
Yeah.
Whereas the mispronunciation is like, even though it's technically mispronunciation isn't the characters lacking sincerity, it's still the writing lacks sincerity.
That makes sense, yeah.
Whereas I Believe is and sorry to any Mormons watching, it's funny because he lays out what Mormons believe unambiguously, and it's very funny to hear it in plain English.
Yeah, I can only agree.
It's like, it's a testament to the hypocrisy of many people that they'll sit there and laugh at the claims of Mormons whilst believing their own, but I guess
humans are
theology a bit too much here.
Yeah, humans are just like a bit contradictory. But yeah, so I think that is the problem with that song. It doesn't commit to its sincerity. It tries to make fun of things that aren't funny, or maybe they're funny for a second, but not really funny to keep going with the whole song.
It's funny the first time.
Yes, the first time she says it's funny, and then it stops being funny. It kind of just I think there's a limit to how funny mispronouncing a word can be over and over again.
It's very South Park actually. Now that I think about it, there's a lot of there's a Chinese character, Mr. Wong, is that his name? I can't remember. There's a South Park character, Chinese character, who mispronounces words a lot as a joke. So it's quite Trey Parker and Matt Stone are very funny and very creative and very clever, but they're also very childish.
So I think we can just get into our number 4 now.
Your number 4.
My number 4, and your number 4 after mine.
Yes.
So my number 4, and you were talking about soppy songs. My number 4 is a very soppy song. It's A Heart Full of Love from Les Mis, because nobody cares about Marius and Cosette. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Cut Marius.
Some people care a little bit about Eponine, and she is there.
I care about Eponine.
But she's there in that song, pining in the background.
Yeah, I just don't like them, and it's just like I'm unconvinced about their relationship. Maybe I should just read the book, because it doesn't. There's a lot. I love Les Mis. I love the show. I think there's a lot of moments with Marius and Cosette that just could be cut.
Yes, all of them. They have a wedding scene. I always forget the
They
wedding
do.
scene.
Yeah, I know. Maybe they went too far into solving things. Just say they lived happily ever after.
Well,
And
no,
the end.
because they run away from because the wedding's when Thenardier shows up and shows the ring he took off Marius in the sewers. But in the book, I think he got that in the Battle of Waterloo or something. I can't remember. The Battle of Waterloo comes into the book quite a lot.
Have you read it?
No, I tried it too.
Okay.
I failed, and but I've been filled in by my mother.
That's good. That's handy.
But she read it a long time ago, and her memory on it therefore is quite spotty, and it's long. So
It's also a very long book. It's very hard to keep track of it.
Gavroche is Eponine's brother as well in the book.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, so he's also a Thenardier.
Ah.
There's a lot. Anyway.
That's my number 4. I don't really have a lot to say. I don't particularly. I think Les Mis is a great musical, but I have to admit that I have been seen and heard saying that it is too long, because it is too long.
It's an enormously long book being condensed into a 3-hour performance approximately, which then has to fit, and there's the most important thing is Valjean. Right, and then they have to try and because that's not even introduced as an adult adult until about 45 minutes in. So she pops on, she's told about 45 minutes in, and so then all of a sudden with the in the last third of the first act, suddenly we have this new character who's now and Marius is also a brand new character. They're brand new characters, and they're the romantic interest of the entire plot. And they were like, oh, we have to do this. We haven't got any time at all, so we're just going to have to do the instantly fall in love trope and have them and establish it all in one song. Yeah, and therefore it's rubbish.
It is a bit rubbish. Yeah, and that's why it's my number 4.
Makes sense. My number 4 is the one that I mentioned in the last list. It was kind of a sneak peek of this. It's All I Ask of You.
Oh
Phantom.
no, but that's a soppy I like.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just now this one's a bit more forgivable insofar as Raoul and Christine did know each other. They were childhood sweethearts.
Yeah.
But it's just.
I think it's just a better song as well.
That's why it made number 4 and not any higher, because the music isn't terrible, and in fact I quite like the melody when it's used at other points of the show, because it's the same thing that Raoul sings actually when it's the same melody that Raoul uses when he recognizes Christine on the stage. Can it be Christine? Isn't that?
It is. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So I like the melody in parts, but I just find that when it's put together for this really, really pointless soppy solo on the rooftop, it's just cliche and boring, and I don't care about their love story.
I quite like that.
Even though their love story is literally the motivation for Phantom, but whatever. It's like.
Yeah, no, I quite like that song. I don't agree with you. I think it's a good song. There you go. I like that song. That's it. I don't have anything to add.
Yeah, well,
I understand you not liking it, and maybe it's not consistent of me to like that and not like Heart Full of Love. But
Heart Full of Love is worse than All I Ask of You.
There you go. Is that on your list? Ooh, we'll see.
Go on, then you're number 3.
My number three. Okay, so I really like Jesus Christ Superstar. I think it's a great show. However, I don't really like Everything's Alright. It's a song I always skip. Because it's not alright. It's a bit dull. I think it bores me. That song bores me, so I skip it.
This isn't on my list by virtue of the fact that I forgot. All I Ask of You is a dreadful song. Sorry, not All I Ask of You. Sorry.
Everything's Alright.
Everything's Alright is a dreadful song. I've never heard it performed well.
No, and that's another thing. So I've seen it on stage twice, and I think it was performed by different actresses. And I've also seen renditions of it online, and I never like it. I never like it. Maybe it just doesn't work. Maybe it wasn't made for humans to sing. I don't know.
It's incredibly boring. The only good part of that song is the first time Judas interrupts at one point
It was, yeah, because Judas is the best part of the show.
and says, "Woman, you're a fine perfume," etc.
Yeah, he interrupts to be sexist. He didn't have to do that, but there you go.
He's a complex character.
He is a complex character, yes.
But yeah, and I know, yeah, he doesn't want Mary there as well because he's worried that Mary is an excuse to hunt to put Jesus away.
Character motivation.
He's got look. He's
And then
complex.
they say musicals
But
have no character motivation.
I agree.
Oh.
I agree. It's a terrible song.
Yeah, I really dislike it, and I always skip it. I do like Jesus Christ Superstar. I do listen to the soundtrack. I always skip that.
Is this the only song from this music on your list?
No, yes.
So you don't hate I Don't Know How to Love Him.
Oh, that's actually worse. I didn't put it on my list because I forgot. It's actually worse. Sorry, this is me cheating now.
Neither of these on my list because somehow Jesus Christ Superstar didn't enter my brain.
Oh no, yeah, both of them are number 3. I have 2 songs number 3.
I think I have to retrospectively knock Salt Lake City off my list and put I Don't Know How to Love Him on there instead.
That is actually worse than I agree.
Because Everything's Alright is saved by Judas interrupting them. Because Everything's Alright. You know what? Everything's Alright. Wow. This is dramatic. This has been rewritten lists all over the place. Coco would be proud. So Everything's Alright is not too bad because the melody is terrible, but it does have an argument between Judas and Jesus. Yeah, between Jesus and Jesus.
Between J and J.
Between Judas and Jesus, which is quite interesting, and I quite like that argument between them. And then later on, when Mary Magdalene reprises it, it's very short and leads into one of the worst songs of all time. I Don't Know How to Love Him.
I Don't Know How to Love Him. Yeah, that is worse. I apologize to Jane Seymour for being number 5. I have to push everything back now because I Don't Know How to Love Him is very bad.
Yeah, Salt Lake City is off my list. I've crossed it out.
I'm just gonna add. I'm gonna have honorable mentions like Chris did. But yes, I Don't Know How to Love Him. I'm changing it now.
Everyone thinks all right. The chorus, the disciples do join in.
They do. Yes.
And
Yes.
kind of make it. The song ends up having a bit more kind of meat to it, a bit more reason to exist. It kind of becomes this because they're singing Everything's All Right quite aggressively.
Yes, it has more dramatic meaning, doesn't it?
It's kind of
more purpose.
There's a little bit more nuance to it than maybe. I think we were kind of getting a bit kind of wrapped up in the fact that the female vocal the female vocal part is boring.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. So I'm changing lists as we go, as Chris is saying. I'm gonna say I Don't Know How to Love Him then for number 3. I'm not gonna rearrange things. I'm just gonna say I Don't Know How to Love Him.
No,
for number 3.
That's my number 5 then. Well, my number 3 is A Heart Full of Love. For all the reasons discussed, it's worse than All I Ask of You. As I said, that's why it's number 3. It's not a good song. We've already talked about it. It's just a wishy-washy, love soppy. Outpouring of emotion with Eponine pining in the background between 3 characters, all of whom have only had approximately maybe between them 10 minutes of stage time up to now. It is absolutely ridiculous. It's doing the thing of first love at first sight. Oh my god, these characters are in love and I haven't got time to convince you, so I'm just going to have them sing it at you because for some reason that's more believable than constructing the believable dialogue. Yeah, it's absolute trash. Terrible. And the music's rubbish too. Okay,
so my number 2 after after all that, my number 2 is Salt Lake City. Because I really don't like that song.
Wow, number 2?
Yeah, I really don't like it.
You said your orders doesn't how you didn't do your order properly. So.
I did not do my order properly, and had I thought about it, I actually...
One had to be bumped off the list now to make room for what's it called? Mary Magdalene song.
Yes, I Don't Know How to Love Him.
Yeah, which one will be bumped off?
Heart of Stone. It has to be.
Okay, fine. So Salt Lake City goes here. Okay.
Yeah,
fine.
It does.
Just
well,
checking.
I actually think I Don't Know How to Love Him is worse than this song. It's worse than Salt Lake City. But I don't want to listen to any of them. Either of them. I don't want to listen to them.
I Don't Know How to Love You would probably be my number 3, actually.
Yeah, it's just I really don't like it.
Which would put I Ask of You at number 5 and Heart Full of Love at number 4. Because my 1 and 2 are staying the same.
Sorry if this is really messy.
So, update. My number 5 has changed from Salt Lake City to I Don't Know How to Love Him from Jesus Christ Superstar. My number 4 has now changed to All I Ask of You, moving from number 3 I can't remember. So, and then A Heart Full of Love is now number 3.
Okay.
My number 1 and 2 are not changing.
So
Deborah,
my honorable mention is going to be Heart of Stone.
Okay.
Because I get to have an honorable mention.
Change honorable mention.
Yeah. So
number 6.
So Heart Full of Love is number 5.
Yeah.
Everything's Alright going to be number 4.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're keeping Everything's Alright.
Oh yeah, I don't like it.
Okay, fair enough.
Or should I remove it? It's complicated. It's complicated to have a list done on the go.
Some podcasts do preparation.
Hey,
Others write it live.
I prepare.
You actually did. I have a list written down. I'm just
Me
changing it as we
too.
go.
Me too. And I'm gonna have Salt Lake City as number 3, and then I'm gonna have I Don't Know How to Love Him as number 2.
Okay.
There you
enough.
go.
But okay, I don't know how that was number 2 now.
Yes.
Okay. So we've nothing new to discuss. Your number 2 in that case.
No.
So we can move on to my number 2.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is the most beautiful sound I've ever heard.
Is it Silence?
No, it's Maria from West Side Story.
I don't know West Side Story, so I can't really add much to it.
I hate this song. The lyrics are Maria over and over again. The music is so dull. I just hate it. I don't, and I seem to be pretty alone on this. I don't understand why people like this song.
After I watch West Side Story, we can discuss this.
It's such a boring song. I hate it so much. And it is the classic soppy outpour of ridiculously love at first sight love. It's so bad. He's going on about, like, it's not like this is the thing, right? It's so that his love for her is so unsubstantiated and random that all he knows is her name and he fixates on that.
I mean, have you seen Romeo and Juliet?
At least she asked, "Wherefore art thou, Romeo?" I don't think he says. I mean, this is based on
Juliet.
This computer needs to stop giving us updates because it's gonna. It can probably be heard on the podcast. It's just, like I said, it's this is based on Romeo and Juliet, right?
Yes,
story.
exactly.
But yeah, it's like. The fact that the fact that the song has no substance to it whatsoever demonstrates the fact that he shouldn't be singing it.
Fair. I don't know it, so I can't really comment.
Maria,
I don't know.
It's like the most beautiful sound I ever heard. Maria.
Sounds like a man in love.
Something I find how wonderful a sound can be. Maria, say it loud and this music's playing. Say it soft and it's almost like praying. I'm just like, even the rhyming structure annoys me. I hate this song. Maria is boring and it is the absolute epitome of soppy, pointless love song. And pleasingly though, sung by a man, because usually these rubbish songs are shirked onto the female leads. So the only positive I'll say about Maria is at least they gave the crap song to Tony, because it is frustrating.
Does Maria have a better song?
No, her songs are crap too. No, but she does have better songs. I feel pretty is okay, I guess. But the point I'm making is, I don't know if you found this right in researching your list, but more often than not, it's the female lead soppy songs that are the ones I don't like. And it's not because women are singing them; it's because they're given the crap songs.
Sure.
And this is the evidence of it. This is kind of the
exception. Yeah, it seems to be. It does seem to be the case.
Because the men do the plot, and the women are left to have the feelings.
Yeah. And this is 2021.
Right? Well, these days it's actually not so true.
No, things have changed. And actually, I don't know if you would add...
Anything Goes was a good example. I remember
yes.
The American debutante sitting down and going... I think I said in our review, I went, oh, here we go. She's going to sing about...
Yeah, whilst the love interest, the guy had a lot more, like a lot of fun songs. And yeah, he had a lot more fun. Definitely the case. But having said all that, I don't know if you're ready to move on to number 1, because my number 1 is from a more recent show, and it is sang by a man. Yeah.
But is it a soppy love ballad?
Not love ballad, but it's a bit soppy. But I just don't like it.
What is it?
It's Take It From an Old Man, from Waitress.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm like, this Waitress, I really like Waitress. I think Waitress is such a fun show. I love the music. I think it has great songs. And then there's this song, and it's towards the end, and for some reason I always feel like, oh, this is a bit long. Why is this going? Why do you have to have a song from this guy?
There's also a problem with that song that it's been composed with these incremented jumps of pitch in the notes, which are difficult to perform well. especially for a gentleman of senior age, which the casting requires.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few. There's like quite a few sudden jumps in pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like a smooth transition. It's not like a slide. It's just a staccato jump to a much higher note, and that's hard to do in my opinion. And it's definitely hard to do if your vocal cords are 60 years old.
Yeah. So look, I think
therefore the performance of it is usually not very good.
No, there's also that, and I think that Waitress is like the soundtrack to Waitress is a one that I have listened to quite a lot, and I do always skip that song. I literally do. It's not even just kind of researching and trying to figure out which ones I skip. That one is definitely the case that I do skip all the time because I
think I actually rather skip than Waitress. I don't think what's called the one that Earl sings with his guitar.
Oh yeah, that was also awful.
Because every time that starts, it's funny. I think Waitress a few times now, and the second I still fell for it. Even the second time, I was like, "There's a reason for this song, right? It's like it shows complex side to Earl, right? Or it turns into something else. But no, it's just they give the villain a chance to just sing for no reason. It's not like a Gaston villain song or
Scar.
Yeah, it's like it's so weird. It's a terrible song.
Yeah, agreed.
Anyway, I shouldn't hijack your list.
No, that's fine. That's my number one. I think it's been a tough list to do. So
it has. It's been very random.
Yeah,
it's just been us kind of ranting about songs that we don't like.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
But generally speaking, in musicals, we do like. Although I did cheat with West Side Story. I don't like West Side Story, but Maria, I just hate so much.
Okay, that's right. We'll let you have it.
I had to go. But number one is fine. That was your number one. No,
that was my number one. That was my number one.
Number one is. Take it from
I really don't like it. Yeah, but I feel I now that I hear you say that, I feel like it's anticlimactic because it's not really a big.
There wasn't enough hate in your eyes.
No.
I know you guys couldn't see her, but for the number one of your top five skips, there needs to be more hate.
I think I rather hate a song than be bored by a song, and I'm bored by that song.
I understand that it
doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I get that. Well, my number one. First of all, how is it on your list? Deborah is definitely about to retcon her list, 100%. I think a bit like I forgot JCS. She just forgot this. Jesus Christ Superstar for people who don't know. If you're not as much of a theatre nerd. Yeah. So how have you not included Memory?
Oh my god. So number one star is Memory.
Number one star. The A-level results just came
yes.
out. There you go. I remember when we saw School of
Zero
Rock.
on the list is Memory for me.
When School of Rock came out, when we saw School of Rock, it was in, I can't remember the theatre, it was the theatre that the Cats first performed in.
It's New London, which is now the Gillian Lynn where Cinderella is.
At one point, one of the characters starts singing Memory, and the teacher character says, "No, never again will that song be sung here." And I remember Deborah and I laughed particularly loudly. I don't think most of the audience got it. That joke. I appreciated that joke enormously. I hate Memory. I hate it when Elaine Page sings it. I hate it when I forgot her. Oh my god.
In the film?
Yeah,
Jennifer Hudson.
Jennifer Hudson, thank you. My god. I hate it when Jennifer Hudson sings it. I hate that song. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Stop singing it.
Yeah, it is 100% horrible, and I did forget about it. I think my excuse for forgetting is that I think it was last year that we watched the Cats film. And I have PTSD from it, so I'm not trying to think about this song anymore. No, honestly, Memory's appalling. I don't care about that song. It's such a generic tune as well. Mm-hmm. So I really dislike it as well. So I can't.
On the topic actually of Memory, Andrew Webber, can you stop casting very young, very beautiful pop stars to play Grisabella? If you're going to, can you please get your makeup and costume department make her look raggedy? Because something happened at some point in the noughties to turn Grisabella's costume design into looking glamorous. I don't know what happened, but she's meant to be dishevelled.
Looking forward to hearing from you. Regards, Chris.
Seriously. I once met Andrew Webber, and I did have a brief conversation with him. Because he couldn't escape. It was at a theatre do, and it was before. This was before this costume time. This is 100% the question I would have asked him, had I had the opportunity. If I ever meet him again, this time I'm asking what, because he must see it. Like, I remember Nicole Scherzinger. Was it Nicole Scherzinger we saw?
I think so. Yeah.
Um,
She was good. It's just memory. My memory's terrible. A terrible song, so I don't care for anyone.
but like, I remember
doing
thinking
it,
she was an odd casting choice.
Yeah.
I guess Elaine Page, when she originally played it, was fairly young and pretty as well. But
she's very much covered in makeup.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Elaine Page, I don't know what Elaine Page looked like at the time when she performed it, but in character, she looked appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The point is, like, it's like, actually, no, I'm going to retract my former thing. It's nothing to do with how young or pretty the pop star is. It's to do with how they look on stage.
Yeah.
Get the casting right and get the makeup and costume department to up their game. Because I don't know what the hell's been happening lately. Oh, and also, while we're on the topic of cats, can Rum Tum Tugger not be a hip hopper? He was never a hip hopper. What are you talking? What are you doing?
Shall we do an episode devoted to you ranting about things, specifically to Andrew Lloyd Webber?
Why did they change Rum Tum Tugger? I don't understand that. Because they did the same thing in Star Express. Rocky 1, Rocky 2, and Rocky 3, the boxcars became Hip Hopper 1, Hip Hopper 2, and Hip Hopper 3. Why?
I think it's because whereas in the 80s, rock was the more rebellious of music types of music. Now it isn't. So they're trying to update it. I
accepted it with Star Express.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're minor characters, and it kind of, and the point is they were three the same character. It was just like Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3. They were kind of just the boxcars who did their thing, and they were they were kind of almost like Greek chorus in the way, because they sing a song about right place, right time, about Rusty. It's very kind of Greek chorus commenting on what's just happened, and they do a lot of that. They're always kind of hovering around commenting on stuff. It was fine, but Rum Tum Tugger is like, if any, Rum Tum Tugger is kind of the main character apart from Isabella. Like he's the one who sings. He's the one who introduces Mr. Mistopheles and gets him. I know Mistopheles is the hero who performs the miracle, so to speak. Rum Tum Tugger is the one who pulls him in and gets everyone to.
Isn't his song is all very rocky? I think it
is.
Super
so
rocky. That's what it is weird in that.
The version you saw on stage was kind of hip hoppy.
Okay.
It sounded bad because you can't undo the fact that it's originally written as a rock song and then add these hip hop elements.
Maybe it was that particular production that did it.
Yeah, it was a new production.
Yeah,
but I think that's how it is. I'm pretty sure that's how it is now.
Okay, we'll have to see it next time and find out. So,
Nicholas, of course, was the original Rum Tum Tugger.
Okay.
From Just Good Friends.
Okay.
Oh, have you not seen that?
No.
I thought you had.
So, yes, I think this has been a very random list, and a bit like, I think we kind of we dressed it as an organized list, but it has not been that, and I am sorry. Well, but I hope it's been entertaining.
I do hope so. My final count. Honourable mentions: Believe in Yourself from Half a Sixpence, Hurricane from Hamilton, Salt Lake City from The Book of Mormon, Everything's Alright from Jesus Christ Superstar. My number 5, I Don't Know How to Love Him from Jesus Christ Superstar. 4, All I Ask of You from Phantom of the Opera. Number 3, Heartful of Love from Les Miserables. Number 2, Maria from West Side Story. And number 1, Memory from Cats.
I don't know if I want to do this because I want to redo my list and put memory in it.
Even as I read it, I was like, no, actually, one of them should be number 3, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so look, we have lots of skips. That's what you learned, and even in shows we like, because you do like Cats, right?
I do like, I like.
No, it's not amongst your favorites, but you'd like it.
It's kind of, by virtue of the fact that it's not on all the time, if it comes back for a tour, I'll pop along to see it.
Also, we named one of our cats after Cats.
We named him after the poem by T.S. Eliot. That's not the same thing.
That's not true.
It is true.
It's not true at all.
It is true. I've always said he's named after the poem. Although I don't like T.S. Eliot, so there you go. Anyway, please go to Instagram, restricted.view. Let us know what your skip songs are. Even more interesting if it's from a show you like. So ideally, let us know a show you really like, but a song you don't like from it that you skip on the CD. And if you could, get the actors to skip on stage. So on to our tip for the week, and this week it is another one of our theatre deep dives. So we've done a couple of these already. We've done for goodness, I've forgotten.
Harry Pinter, we've done. Which other one we've done?
Gilgood?
Gilgood, yes.
So the reason we did those two Well, one of the reasons was because they're theatres that are on rotation a lot.
Yes.
Right? That they have stuff coming in and going out a lot. There's less value in giving you a deep dive. I mean, we'll do them probably. We will get round to them. But there's less value in giving you a deep dive of, for example, Her Majesty's, where Phantom lives for the last 30 years or so. Same with Queen's Theatre, and I will not call it the Sondheim Theatre. Same with the Queen's Theatre, where I'm not a royalist. I just don't like changing. I don't appreciate a West End theatre bearing the name of an American. Also, I don't really like Sondheim.
If you hadn't gathered that from the list now,
Exactly.
you just listened to.
But yes, there's less value in that. So once again, we're giving you a deep dive into a theatre which has lots of shows coming and going all the time. We've seen at least 6 things there in the last few years, haven't we?
Yeah, and it has
Boulevard, Chess, Hairspray, Notre Dame de Paris.
I think those are the ones. Have we seen
That's
more?
4.
But we've seen a lot of these a lot of times.
I think we've seen more than that as well. But it's a great theatre. One of our favourites.
Yes, and it's the London Coliseum on St Martin's Lane. I love the Coliseum. I think it has a sense of occasion to it because it's such a beautiful theatre.
Yes.
And I always like going there because it's just so nice. And as Chris said, it's a theatre that gets lots of shows. The runs are usually short. They have operas there as well.
That's it. We saw Frankenstein Ballet there, didn't we? No,
yes.
No,
that was at the Opera House.
That was the Royal Opera
Yes,
House. Yeah,
yes.
sorry.
But they do operas. Actually, once I was walking behind the theatre and I heard someone practicing an aria because it was open and I could hear them.
They have an opera of The Handmaid's Tale coming.
What?
I think I told you this. I saw it advertised in the bathroom.
Nice. That sounds.
It's a good place to advertise upcoming shows.
Yeah, they do. Bathroom stalls. Yes, great. So yeah, it claims to have the largest auditorium in the West End. I will have to revisit that claim after now the Drury Lane reopens.
Yes, the Drury Lane would have been what I would have, if you'd asked me this in a quiz show. I would have picked Drury Lane.
But bear in mind, that's not just the largest stage. It could be the height of the auditorium. There could be lots of things.
I've only been to Drury Lane twice.
Yeah, I haven't been many times.
3 times. Sorry, I saw Shrek there as well. Oh yeah, I sat in the
Shrek
stalls.
was there?
Yes, it was.
Huh.
I don't remember. I sat in the stalls. Me and a friend got like I think it was like 20 quid for like stalls.
Nice.
Like it was really good, amazing seats. So I've sat in the stalls in Drury Lane. I've forgotten that.
And we'll hopefully be going back for Frozen as well.
We will. We sat in the Royal Circle for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes, which is the dress circle, by the way.
Is it called the Dress Circle there?
Yes, I believe so.
I thought they called it the Royal.
Oh, I don't know. Sorry, at the Drury Lane. Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, the lower circle. I don't know where I sat for Lord of the Rings. I can't remember.
Anyway, but today, so we're going to talk about the Coliseum a little bit and give you a little bit of some of our tips and where the toilets are and those sorts of things.
We have sat everywhere in the Coliseum.
We have indeed. So the Coliseum has had a big refurbishment in 2004 to make it more accessible. Because the theatre, if you've been to the Coliseum, you'll know this, but if you haven't, this is why we're here. It doesn't really have it's not a ramp style. Like the rake is actually steps, and there's lots of steps obviously to all the levels of the theatre. So they have installed lifts.
Yeah.
So you can access most of the levels
Aren't
via
there
lifts.
stairs leading from street?
No, I think
No.
yes. I think there's lots of there are alternatives to all of it.
Okay.
So what I will say, so I don't repeat myself regarding this particular aspect of it, is that the view is very good from pretty much everywhere in the Coliseum.
Yes.
Even if you are at the balcony, you will be very far away from the stage, but you will get a decent view, which is very surprising.
You'll
I
get a
think.
decent view. The balcony is the only thing I would caution.
Yes.
Just because it is a long way away.
Yeah.
You definitely can't see, actors' faces. I mean, that's never something that bothers me as much as does other people. I don't know why, but it's complicated. You are a long way away, but it's okay, especially if they're reasonably priced.
Yes, exactly. If you have good value for money tickets, then that's a good place to go.
Did we sit in the balcony for Sunset Boulevard?
We might have done.
I really would like to know that because I have a visual image of Chess from the balcony, and it felt a long way away.
Yeah.
But I also have a visual memory of Sunset Boulevard, and it felt quite close.
I think we were in the upper circle for Sunset Boulevard.
So if we were, which makes sense,
I can find out.
I think
At some point.
I think, and this even, you know what, we saw Chess from both and we were so dressed from all 4 levels actually.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, you know what? Because I have a visual image of chess from all 4 levels, the thing that would put me off the balcony is the upper circle is a very significant upgrade on the balcony.
Yes, that is very true.
Just
The
for
upper
one
circle
level.
is very good. The upper circle is actually what for some theatres is the dress circle.
Yeah.
The view you
Yeah.
get from the upper circle is very
It's kind
good.
of between, but
Yeah,
I know what you
yeah,
mean.
yeah. So it's a well-built theatre insofar as there aren't. I cannot think there are pillars. Are there pillars? I don't believe there are pillars in, like between the seats.
No, there's no pillars in the seats.
Yeah, and you can. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that starting with the stalls, we have set very close to the stage, and we
You
also
sat
have
front and center before.
front and center.
Yeah.
We've set towards the sides as well and towards the
Extreme
back.
size before, yeah.
Yeah, and it was all fine.
Yeah.
You miss the sides. You obviously, as always, you'll miss a little bit of the stage, but because it's not relevant. I don't think.
It's not worth mentioning. I don't think it's not enough to mention really.
No, unless you paid £100, then maybe you do want to have a perfect view of the stage.
I guess.
But I have found places kind of mentioning that that you have to, if you're too close to the stage, so if you're in the front row, you might have to look up. However,
We sat in the very front row.
however, I disagree with that. I don't think the height of the stage is a problem whatsoever
There's
because
a pit between you.
yes, the orchestra pit is between the front row and the stage, so there is a distance. And like I've been in the front row for very high stages, and that is not the case. There, I actually think you have very like a perfect view. It's very good. But they are very expensive seats usually in the stalls. Nowadays, depending on the show, you can get rush tickets or you can get discounted tickets. I know they do cheaper tickets as well for under 35s for operas.
Oh, cool.
So that's something that we can look into. And there's ways to get to the theatre and there's ways to stay in the stalls, but it's not something that we would do normally without these discounted tickets. But they are very good. Another thing I will mention, obviously there are toilets on this level, so this is the first floor they call it, and I think it's kind of the street level, I believe.
Ground floor.
And yeah, they call it the first floor because I think you do have to go up. But you can go down. So there are toilets on this level, but most of the toilets and the toilets that we always use, so much so that I didn't know there were toilets in this level until I researched, are in the basement. So we always use the stairs, but there are lifts. So there's a provision made for people who need lifts.
Exactly.
So I think that's it. I think there's a little bit of an overhang from the dress circle, but again, I don't think it's a problem. It's at the very back of the stalls, but again, I don't think it would matter.
No, I don't think so. And in the dress circle, I know that the front, I think it's 2 rows, maybe 3, curve like all the way around, like very deep curve. We have sat in that curve, and it isn't an issue.
No.
It's like sitting in a really well positioned box.
Yes, that's what it feels like. So that's the dress circle. Then the dress circle again, very good views. It's a very good. So I would say as good as the stalls, if not better.
Better, I think.
You have a very good view of the stage
'Cause
from pretty
you're
much
only
anywhere.
a couple of meters above the actors. You're not like really high.
Yeah.
You just got that little bit of height. To look
And
down
it's very.
upon them.
It's not a very big. That there aren't that many. There aren't that many. Like it's not very wide. The actual theatre is not very wide.
No.
So you don't really. It doesn't go very far either. There aren't that many. Kind of rows of seats as well either. So I think it's very good. You also have toilets in the dress circle.
Okay.
Yes. There's unisex toilets both in the dress circle, like adapted toilets, both dress circle and the stalls at the basement ones that we talked about.
Okay, and then upper circle.
So the upper circle, I would say, as we just mentioned, upper circle is pretty decent. There are toilets, not adapted toilets. And that will tie in with what Chris will say in a minute about the wheelchair access. I don't believe there is easy access to the upper circle. Basically, I think you do need to go upstairs. I haven't been able to find.
I'm going to go through the mobility stuff in a second here. But just of the upper circle itself, we sat in the very back row of the upper circle.
Yes.
And very good view.
Yes, again, the view in the upper circle is decent as well, especially considering it's the upper circle.
It's very good. And I think the very back of the upper circle is obviously as far away as you can be, but you're still quite considerably close in the balcony, which kind of leads to saying that the balcony. Final thing is, yes, the balcony. If you can get good tickets, I think we sat in the front row of the balcony for £25 once for chess. £20 or £25. That was pretty good, but I would recommend paying the extra tenner to go down to the
the upper circle. Yeah.
Try and extend the budget if you can for the upper circle. You will have a good experience from the balcony, but it's just a personal recommendation that the extra in this particular theatre, the extra cost from balcony to upper circle in the Coliseum is the most significant jump.
Yeah, it's
Do you know
worth
what I mean?
mentioning
So
as
it's like
well.
if you pay £10 for that jump, that's the best £10 to spend. If you were to pay £10 again to go to the dress circle, less value for money. Pay
Yeah.
£10 again from there to go to the stalls, less value for money. Balcony to up circle, most significant jump in value.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning as well that the seats in the balcony, like the leg room, is not the best, and that's another
Sure,
thing.
yeah.
It's quite tight.
Are there toilets in the balcony?
There are toilets.
Okay.
There are toilets in the balcony. Yes.
There's toilets at every level. Dedicated
There
toilets
seems
at
to
every
be
level.
toilets every level. Yes.
Additional ones at the
But there are the adapted ones, I think, are not in the upper circle.
So what about the bars?
So my research has told me that there is no bar in the dress circle, but you're never too far away from a bar. There are bars in the stalls, there are bars in the upper circle, and also in the balcony. It's very posh, so it has like all the bars have different fancy names. I assume they serve different things. I'm not sure. We don't usually use the bars at the theatre, but if you do,
No.
you can let us know.
Yes, if you want to have a drink with your show, the Coliseum is definitely not going to give you a problem in that regard. So just moving on to accessibility, hot topic, especially with Six and the vaudeville, etc., and all that controversy. There are 2 wheelchair spaces in the stalls, 2 wheelchair spaces in the dress circle, and 4 wheelchair spaces in the stall boxes. Transfer seats are available for those who are able to be transferred out of their wheelchairs. 4 in the dress circle and 6 in the balcony. Adapted unisex toilets, I think Deborah's already mentioned, on 4 out of the 5 levels. Basement, stalls, dress circle, and balcony, and most importantly, I guess, with all this, 2 lifts.
Yes.
And one in the main foyer, and which provides access, it says, to most levels of the auditorium, to all bars and restaurants. So you shouldn't. It's basically ultimately, if you've got mobility issues, you shouldn't have much of a problem with the Coliseum. They seem well prepared, which also means the staff are going to be trained on it, and the staff are not going to be surprised or annoyed to be faced with this issue.
And we have had very good experiences with the staff at the Coliseum as
That's
well,
true,
and
actually,
they're
yeah.
very, very good, very professional, very caring for their patrons. So I think it is overall a good theatre. Maybe if you have mobility issues, I'm not even talking necessarily about being a wheelchair user, but if you just have, maybe trouble going upstairs or down, I possibly avoid the upper circle, since I haven't found since the lifts don't seem to reach that level.
I just realised my mum climbed all the way to the balcony.
I think she took the lift. I think we did.
No, I think she just did it and just
Slowly.
Slowly. I didn't realise there was a lift back then. That was good to know.
No, yeah. So yes, there are lifts, yes, and they're very useful.
Yeah.
I had seen the lifts, so I never used them, but I have seen them. Yeah.
So I think that covers it. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I think the Coliseum is a great theatre. It's one of those that once people are allowed to travel again freely, and if you're not from London, if you come to London, it's one that's worth going to. So check out what's there, because it's worth visiting.
Currently showing Hairspray, which we do recommend you check out.
Definitely. So for our Far Too Many No section today, we would like to talk about. We would like to stand here on a defense of theatre.
In defence of
Musical theatre, yes. We have. I think it's just a history of hearing things like, "Oh, I don't like musicals." "Oh, I don't understand musicals. Oh, it's so silly because they just sing all the time."
Why are they always singing?
Why they always say, "Well, it's a musical." But
why do movies always follow the people who happen to have so much stuff going on in their lives?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I was doing some research and reading about musicals, and I came across a list that it doesn't really matter where it's from. It's just a list, kind of trying to find reasons to explain why good reasons to not like musical theatre.
Do you want to present those arguments and I can destroy them?
Yes, let's do that. And I also want to mention another thing that I read a Guardian article from 2009 that also kind of prompted this discussion. Because the article is actually fun to read. I highly recommend it. The article is called "You May Think You Hate Musicals, but Are You Sure You're Not Just Being a Bit of a Snob?" And it was written by Sam Leith, and is actually talking about the Spider-Man musical. Do you remember the Spider-Man musical? What came of it? Who knows? That was done with U2. U2 were
I would have loved to have seen it as it happened because it had lots of stunts.
yes,
Apparently.
and but basically the main thing about this article was talking about how the Edge, the Edge, the guitarist of U2, said that they didn't want that U2 and I guess the producers did not want people to think of Spider-Man as a musical. They wanted people to think of it as more of an opera because, and I quote, "We don't really like musicals. Most musicals are really pants. They're really not very cool." Um, yeah, yeah.
So it's quite.
I don't even know where to start.
It's quite amusing that a musician such as David Evans. No, I will not call you the Edge. It's funny that someone like David somehow could misunderstand music so poorly. So he clearly is unaware that musical theatre is literally a form of opera. It's a natural evolution of opera. I think mentioned this multiple times during the podcast before. So to say it's an opera, not a musical, is just a lack of education in his own field, which is amusing.
Yes, but I find it very interesting, and this is something this Guardian article also mentions, is how people who claim to not like musicals, when faced with certain questions, are like, oh, but they have lots of exceptions to it.
Yeah.
Which basically means they like musicals, but they don't like all musicals. Same, you know. I also don't like all musicals. No, but like someone who likes films doesn't like all films, and so on and so forth. And you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I find it particularly interesting that usually what happens is, and I think this happens with all types of escapist fiction, that is not taken seriously. It's not seen as worthy. It happens with fantasy novels. It happens with video games. It happens with a lot of media that is not seen as being proper or serious. And we are here today to debunk that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will start then. So as I said before, when my preamble, I came across a list of very good reasons to dislike musical theatre. And Chris and I will go through it now and tell you why they're wrong. The first one, and I'm gonna start from the back if that's okay, because the first one is the silliest reason I've ever seen, which is the intermission or the interval.
Interval. Let's say interval.
Yes.
Please.
I think this was from the US.
This
but
argument's the easiest one to just to debunk because it doesn't actually require any deconstruction of the argument itself. It's simply I can prove this one is false by saying the following unsubstantiated thing, which is films are terrible. There's no intermission.
Well, exactly.
And that's exactly the same thing. That's exactly what he's doing. He's just saying that there is an intermission, therefore it's bad. Well, I can say it's the opposite about films.
Well, I would like to just begin by saying, and this is not really a justification just because it's done, but I think there's a traditional element of having this interval during a show. That's not a good reason. Tradition can be broken. It's not always a good thing. However,
yeah, films in cinemas used to have intervals.
Yeah, and some were having them again.
Yeah,
so it just really depends. But I think in the case of theatre, there are several arguments to be made for the interval. Actually, first of all, you have a longish production. It's quite nice to be able to stretch your legs. Sometimes you're not sitting in comfortable seats. You're not sitting somewhere that is good. You just want to get up a bit. Also, going to the toilet, super useful. Another thing is that theatres have bars, they have sometimes shops that people can access during the interval, and that's also kind of a part of the system of the theatre.
The commerce.
Yes, but of the working theatre, isn't it? Like they do also make money from these venues and these ventures inside the theatre. So I think that's important. But another thing is just that, look, no offense to anybody, I also have to go to the toilet all the time. But people cannot sit still for over an hour. They just can't. They just cannot.
No. During 6, which is about an hour and a quarter long, about 20 people in our level got up.
Yeah.
And came back.
Yeah. So I think it's for the good of everybody that it has an interval. I think I find it really funny that this particular person in their argument saying that an outing that should take 90 minutes takes nearly 3 hours, and I don't know where he's been that the interval is an hour and a half, because they're usually only 15 minutes.
And also it's like shows aren't 3 hours long, generally speaking. The vast majority of them are 2.5 hours long. including the interval.
Exactly.
They generally end at 10, start at 7:30.
Yeah, and personally, I quite like being able to have a very brief discussion of the first act. It's always good fun to be able to kind of talk about it.
I tend to avoid it, actually. I tend to not like talking about it until I've seen the whole thing.
Oh, but even not necessarily like a moral judgment or saying if it's good or bad, but kind of saying, oh, this actor's playing this character. Oh, we have an understudy for that character. You kind of you have a chance to regroup with the people you've gone to the theater with and share a little bit of how you've been feeling thus far.
Yeah, that's true.
So I quite like that.
The interval argument is just ridiculous.
Yes.
It's unsubstantiated to the 9.
Yes. So since it's so silly, let's move on. In the next one is the next argument is that nuance does not exist in musical theatre. What do you have to say about that, Chris?
I mean, it's unsubstantiated, but it's more. I guess it's more complicated. I'm assuming his list goes into more detail than just stating that, right? Does he give examples?
Not really. I think he's basically saying musical theatre are not books or films, and they don't go into the detail that books or films go into. Therefore,
does nuance mean detail? I don't think it does.
Yeah.
Nuance means kind of thing. It's not. He's
kind of saying the characters are never complex, and there's no, and yes, but it go into kind of it does that is. I think this person is claiming that musical theatre doesn't explore the human condition. I guess.
Well, I would exhibit A would be Blood Brothers, Chess. Once, a good one. Yeah, it's.
Hey, look. Even, and we were talking about Les Mis, even Les Mis, I always think of Javert, and I think he has a very interesting story in that.
Yes, yeah, he definitely, yeah, that's definitely a good example of a nuanced character.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things. It's hard to argue with because it's so unsubstantiated.
Yeah, I agree, but it's very, very silly to say, especially because I feel like all of these arguments, and we are just having a bit of fun here talking about them, but all of these arguments are so generic.
Yeah, you can
and sweet because you can talk about anything.
I applied one of them to the films easily.
Yes, but hey, I'm a very avid reader, and I have read books that have no nuance. But I also read books that have very deep psychological analysis of characters.
Does he say they haven't got nuance compared to films because they're the same length as films? Books is the only thing he could possibly argue that they have more time to deal with. But I mean, theatre predates books. He
basically claims that that theatre plays, musical theatre plays to the lowest common denominator, which is like the easiest way to it's easy to consume.
So there's a confusion there of causation and correlation, right? So you could have if let's just say for a moment it's not true. But let's just say for a moment that musicals have simple plots,
mm-hmm.
and don't have nuance. Let's just run with that as a working hypothesis. Is that because they have music? No. You can have straight plays with no nuance. You can have books with no nuance. You can have films with no nuance. And what he's saying is he can think of he actually hasn't. I do him the credit of assuming he can think of musicals that have no nuance and are lowest common denominator stories,
mm-hmm.
and is therefore and has made the false conclusion that therefore all musicals are the same. It's like saying I went to Scotland and saw a black sheep. All sheep in Scotland are black.
That is what he's doing.
Yeah,
absolutely, yes, and
he clearly never had any formal debate training.
No, yeah. So I think the nuance is very, very silly and it's very sweeping and very generic.
Yeah, and actually, I think that one of the main tools that musical theatre has to explore nuance is music.
Exactly. Yes, agreed.
So something I hate is when plays don't use music in any way, shape, or form. Because have you ever seen a movie that doesn't have music?
What would be of the famous Psycho scene without the music?
Well, quite. Have you ever tried watching? I remember as a kid, I actually thought out loud once, why do all movies have so much music? It did strike me as odd. And someone said to me, who was there, because you'd get bored. And he was completely right. Every film is boring. boring without the music. Like, seriously, they're all so boring. Have you ever tried listening to watching a film without music?
No.
It's mind-numbingly boring.
But for like
And plays. Oh, I've had lots of plays where
sometimes they do that.
boring.
Yes, but
you need to have music. Lots of music for transitions now, but you need to have it to accent dramatic moments, as far as I'm concerned.
I agree, and I was gonna say that not only is it boring without the music, but also music is also used to tell the story. You can use music to further the story, to further your character development, because these characters are sad, so you can have a swelling sad song. There's so much in it,
and you can do that both blatantly and subtly. So you can use you can repeat the same piece of music. You got a piece of music that end up being associated with certain characters, right? Or associated with certain moods. Sondheim does that a lot. I've talked about Sondheim in West Side Story before, how he uses just three notes over and over again, and inverts them and stuff to show characters their relationship with each other, relationship with the kind of the gang activity. And that happens on a subtle level, right? And we talked about this in Hamilton as well.
Yeah, Hamilton has a lot of that. Yes.
How he'll there's a lot of foreshadowing in the music. Hamilton, Philip he changed the melody on his piano lesson at the 7th note. He dies on the 7th beat in Blow Us All Away. There's a lot of and that's something that you don't realize consciously.
Yeah, but it's there.
I think it has an impact on at least a percentage of the audience.
I think it has an impact, and no, it definitely does. And I think musicals can do that so well because they have music. And then going into the importance of music, this list claims that musicals have dreadful music. And honestly, have you heard anything more generic than that in your life? This also made me think, interestingly, because in this list, the justification is, of course, there are such and such and such and such and such musicals that have good music. So again, he's saying, I don't like some musicals, but I like others. He has a lot of skips.
My counterpoint to this would be something I've often found amusing is considered one of the greatest film directors of all time, Steven Spielberg. Have you ever looked at his filmography? He's got a bucket of films you've never heard of. He's got a bucket of films that are crap, but he's got some several very high profile, super successful, super critically and acclaimed films, and that's why you think he's the greatest director of all time. Maybe he is. I don't know. I'm not saying he's not, but that's why people consider him one of the greatest directors of all time. But he's got a lot of crap,
like
he
anything.
Made a lot of stuff. Stephen King. 7 books every 3 weeks probably he publishes. He writes he's just non-stop. Sorry. Stephen King writes like he's running out of time. I'll tell you that for free. And all the quotes. Getting all the quotes in. No one told him the world was wide enough for more authors,
Okay. Chris, he is non-stop, guys.
I am non-stop. No, but seriously, this guy who wrote this list, I'm telling you, I'll be Socrates throwing rocks at these mediocrities.
Okay, let's stop that.
No, but seriously, it's just, it's look.
Well,
anything. There's a lot of crap songs in the world. That's like watching Tommy Wiseau's The Room and going, films are rubbish.
But it's like reading a bad book and thinking all books are bad.
Yes.
Have you gone into a bookshop? Have you seen how many there are?
Exactly.
So, and it's a bit like that with films.
And you can self-publish these days, so anyone can be an author.
Well, yeah, but there's good things and bad things, or even books that are published through the right means, to the traditional means. They're still not right, but traditional. They still can be bad. Saying it's dreadful, and also look. I don't know where this is I don't even know where it comes from, because there's so many different types of musicals as well that use different music, so you can't, I don't even think it's easy. Like there's types of music that I don't particularly like to listen to, but it doesn't mean that I don't like all music.
Yeah, there's Sondheim musicals,
Oh, I quite like them.
I'm joking. Sondheim, I guess, to me is my musical theatre equivalent of Shakespeare, I guess.
Yeah, you like being controversial.
I, I do like being controversial. This is true, but not on purpose. I don't aim to provoke.
I mean,
I'm just provoking.
I mean, you be the judge of that. You listener, be the judge of
No,
that.
my tastes in theatre, musical theatre, and have been developed over a long time.
And they
And I
change.
can't
It
help.
changes, doesn't it?
It does change. I don't think I don't ever like Shakespeare. I don't think there's anything I can see that make me like Shakespeare.
Fair enough.
Sondheim, I could be. I'm open to liking a Sondheim. I do like some of his stuff. I just, on the whole, never really enjoy his packages.
That's fair. Yes.
What was the last point on that list?
The last point on that list is that every moment turns into song.
Yes, this kind of brings me back to what David Evans, I think is David, the guitarist from U2,
The one who wears the beanie all the time.
Yeah, that guy. So it kind of ties into what he's saying. What he said it is a fundamental misunderstanding of what musical theatre is. So this is so we've talked about how we don't really have academic discussions in the podcast, but this is an example of kind of an academic failing of Evans, the guitarist, and whoever wrote this list. Musical theatre is an extension of opera. So to say everything turns into song, but but opera's acceptable. I mean, opera is all song.
All of it. And a lot of the time, you don't even understand what they're saying.
No, so I've mentioned this before. Opera is basically... There's three major types of singing in opera, right? There's recitative secco, recitative accompagnato, and there's aria. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So recitative is basic. Aria is what you all know. It's Nessun Dorma. I can't think of another example. It's the ones you all know of the massive swelling solo outpour of emotion, and they never further the plot. They're always very repetitive. They're all about feelings. It's just these characters bursting, and they're usually singing about really weirdly silly things, considering how dramatic it sounds. If you actually look at translations of arias, it's often very, very funny. It's highly recommended, actually. So that's what became the songs.
Yeah.
Right. They kept those songs. Recitative is more like when the plot's being progressed, when characters are talking to each other. And there's two versions. So recitative accompagnato is when there is melody, there is structured accompaniment. I'm not an opera expert, so forgive me if I make any clear error, but this is generally speaking all correct. I'm a technical opera expert, like my cousin's partner might tear this apart, tear this logic apart. But so that's basically So it's dialogue, it's plot being progressed, but there is a structured accompaniment, and that's kind of been cut entirely from musical theatre. I would say it kind of hasn't. I think it's the kind of thing I would use that, say. So, like, Les Mis has that. Actually, that's a good example. Les Mis has it, right? Les Mis has recitative accompagnato when there's sung dialogue.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It definitely does.
But
Yeah.
I've been in Les Mis. It's an orchestration, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not there's very little. There's not an enormous amount of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think what else has that. Phantom has some.
Yeah, I was gonna say Phantom.
Phantom
Yeah.
definitely has some. But recitativo secco then is basically just talking, and it's when there's only one or two instruments accompanying them. There's a lot of freedom to use borrowed time and to change the timing of what you're singing. You've got a lot more freedom. It is basically just sort of semi-melodic talking.
Mm-hmm.
When they're doing that Italian mumbling in that's kind of that's recitativo secco.
Okay.
And that is what became the dialogue. So they said, right, so recitativo secco, we get rid of that. The orchestra's going to take a rest, and the characters are going to have a play-like dialogue.
Yeah.
Recitativo accompagnato, and so the thing like Blood Brothers, which is basically dialogue, aria, dialogue, aria, dialogue, aria. Something like Phantom has like what, 2 scenes of dialogue, and Les Mis has no scenes of dialogue. So that's just recitativo accompagnato and aria over and over again. I can't really think of an example that has secco, accompagnato, and aria in musical theatre. I'm sure they exist. But basically, what they did was the arias were kept as the songs. The recitative was mostly cut, both secco and accompagnato, and turned into dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you have operettas like Phantom Les Mis, which kind of have this hangover remnant of recitative accompagnato, right?
Yeah.
That's what happened. Gilbert and Sullivan, probably. This is just speculation. This is not this claim is not research. Gilbert and Sullivan probably one of the early kind of progenitors of this change. In my because like Pirates of Penzance is very much like that.
Yes, I think there's a it looks like musical theatre as we kind of know it. Well, obviously it's always changing as an art form, but it has its origins in the 19th century, and it comes from opera, but it also comes from other artistic expressions during that time, like vaudevilles and other comedies and like physical comedies and magic, like all these different types of entertainment that were consumed were kind of brought together in a way. So that's why you have also the kind of spectacle side to it as well, and the dancing, because you have this common, because you have the dancing that you have in ballet, and you have the singing that you have in opera. So there is a combination of art forms there, like a collage almost.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I think saying that they sing all the time is not even true.
Well, no, I just it's true in operettas and operas, which is what these people are saying that they're being snobbish about this.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right? When Gilbert and Sullivan first started making quote unquote light operas, operettas, they were looked down upon to a certain extent.
Well, yeah, that's it. This is it. Yep.
And musical theatre is just the extension of that, and now Gilbert and Sullivan are held in such high esteem.
Well, exactly. It's funny, isn't it? And I think going back now to where we kind of started with this, and I was talking about the Guardian article that kind of asks, do you not like musicals, or are you just a bit snobbish? I think there's also two sides to it, because I think there is the snobbish side of not thinking it's proper art, and it's not a valid art form.
It is just an extent. It is just a continuation. Like in another 100 years, we're going to have plays with jazz hands, and people are going to be looking back at musicals by Andrew Webber saying that's high art.
Well, exactly, and that's exactly my point, and this is what the article also mentions, is how people usually say they don't like musicals, but they make so many exceptions, like say, oh, but I like this one because it's a classic. I like Rodgers and Hammerstein because it's a classic. I like Cabaret because it's a classic. So hang on, so you're this is actually being snobbish, because you are making this division of the ones that have transcended the popular culture barrier into,
whilst also freely admitting you haven't actually done the research to just
yes, exactly, yeah, but then there's also the other side, and I think there's the side that maybe the guy who plays the guitar for U2
I was going to double check. Yes, David Evans,
maybe that's why that's where he falls, I don't know, in kind of the not knowing.
He's uneducated on the topic,
yeah, but I think
he's a musician who doesn't understand musical theatre's foundation in opera.
Maybe he's changed his mind since. I don't know. This is an old article from 2009, so he's had time to reflect. But I also think there is a portion of people who maybe have been exposed to certain shows. Maybe they were taken to Cats. Maybe they were taken to something that they really don't like, and I understand that
Cats isn't a musical; it's a ballet with music.
Okay,
all ballets have music.
You know what I mean? They've been taken to maybe something that is actually nowadays considered almost a classic of musical theatre, and didn't like it, and therefore they think they don't like musical theatre. But then they do like Disney films, for example,
which always like Disney films,
which are all full of music, you know. So I think
they usually like Hamilton.
They usually like Hamilton as well, yeah. So
because they think it's edgy and new, and oh my god, it's hip hop. It's wow, we've never seen that before. Hamilton's great, but it's like, I don't know. I find the people who only like Hamilton irritate me.
Well, but for these particular reasons, even just the fact that you are,
because it's transcended the cultural. What was it you said? Transcended the
pop culture barrier.
Pop culture barrier. Thank you.
Yes, but I think yes, Hamilton is not just any musical, right? It's gone beyond that, and it's mentioned everywhere. It's mentioned in TV and books and stuff. So but yeah, I think there's a part of unwillingness to the new as well, that you don't want, it's very odd, and I find that very odd, not wanting to be exposed and to consume a type of art that you're not familiar with because you had one bad experience. I find that very odd, but I guess that's some people's attitude, and fine. I just don't fully understand it, especially especially when they come full of buts and ifs and oh, but
Yeah.
if it's this one I like, but if it's Disney I like, but if it's I don't know if it's a proper one I like.
The major thing I would say in defense of musical theatre, to circle back around though, um is kind of returning to that whole concept. Have you ever watched a film without music, right? Music is absolutely key and crucial to telling a story. And if you think otherwise, you're just wrong. It's. I mean, the Greek choruses sang. They didn't speak. They sang or half sang. I don't know if our primary sources on historical sources on that are absolutely definitive, but as far as we can tell, they sang. I mean, they were called a chorus.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was changed. I don't know if the word, what the order of word. I studied this in university. I should know this. I'm pretty sure they sang. I'm pretty sure they sang. They at least spoke in unison, in rhyming verse.
Yeah.
Right.
But even if you I don't know, even if you think of Shakespeare, it's all rhymed as well.
Yeah, very melodic.
Very melodic.
But the
And
point-
if you listen,
but-
even if you don't, and this is from someone whose first language is not English, if you listen to Shakespeare, like if you just sit down and listen, maybe even if you don't understand it, if the actor is not doing it properly in the iambic pentameter,
it's very like recitative psycho, frankly.
but if they're not doing it properly, you will be able to tell it's weird.
Oh yeah.
It's very hard to explain, and this is why I always say that I've seen a few Shakespeare's. Some of the best ones are the ones that have the best actors who really understand the text, because then they can do it more.
Iambic pentameter is really hard to do, by the way.
Yeah,
Because I've always found it really hard to do. Maybe that's
I
my
know
knowledge
it probably is, and it has a rhythm, and if the rhythm is not there, it will strike you as strange. So you are looking for that rhythm as well, because it's essentially poetry and music.
Yeah. Like Hamilton. But the main point I wanted to make was that music is so good to portray a feeling, to what's the word, to add gravity to a scene. Like the music is what is the thing that gives you the goosebumps. Generally
Yes.
speaking, it's the thing that really makes the drama, and it's such an unbelievably powerful tool which films take and use, and often not enough, and plays definitely don't use enough, and they really damn well should. And my favourite plays are always the ones that actually do use music properly. And there are so many great, like we should do it, one day we'll do our top 5 musical theatre numbers or something. There are so many great numbers which are just brimmed full of emotional intensity.
Yes.
Like Pity the Child in Chess, we've talked about before.
And we mentioned before when we talked about Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, the moment there's a moment between two characters, and they're having this kind of, they're encountering each other on the stairs, and the stairs are moving. But it's nothing without the music.
Yeah.
The music is so beautiful and swelling and a bit sad. It's just perfect.
These snobs clearly have no problem with operatic arias. They clearly have no problem with Shakespearean soliloquies. Or if they do, then at least they're being consistent, and I'll listen to them a bit more, maybe. But that's what the musical theatre. That's what like the musical theatre big showstopper is. That's what Pity the Child is. It's an aria. It's a Shakespearean soliloquy. It's his to be or not to be. He's going through the emotional turmoil of how he's ended up here in a position where he's just been cast aside. The last thing that's said to him before he sings that is until he sings there's no point wasting time preaching to the perverted.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like, you've lost everything. He's lost because no one's respect, everyone, and it's him reflecting on how he's ended up there, who's to blame, and finally accepting a bit of personal responsibility for himself. And that's a powerful moment. And I don't know, I'd be interested to hear the soliloquy Shakespeare would have written about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be interested to hear the operatic aria. But Benny and Bjorn made an incredible rock ballad which really takes you through, and there's a great nuance to that as well. I've always said is there's a bit where he starts talking about his mother, and it's in this staccato format, and to me that's always simulated trying to stifle yourself from crying. That staccato of dun, dun, there's basically music is giving you the musical theatre has an additional tool
Yeah.
to tell the story. It hasn't lost anything over that opera has. It hasn't lost anything that plays have. Obviously, it doesn't have some things
No,
that films have, but that's
the different. Yeah.
neither do opera or plays. It has something extra.
Actually, and this is one of the points that the writer of the Guardian article makes, is that it actually, if anything, it gains on opera because it doesn't have to have the singing all the time, because it has the breaks for dialogue.
Yeah,
Characters.
recitativo secco is very, even though it's free form, it's still very restricted.
Yeah, it's so they can, so because they have these breaks for dialogue, that you can do character development, you can further plot as you will, basically as you like, in those breaks from music.
Mm-hmm.
So you almost have the best of both worlds in a way.
Yeah,
because you have the music and you have the
dialogue.
dialogue.
Stuff like Blood Brothers, which people always say is not a musical; it's a play with songs, and obviously that's a relatively meaningless distinction, but it's just one that people kind of end up making sort of subconsciously without even understanding fully why. They think that just because it's structured itself kind of differently to your average musical, and there's a bucket load of dialogue, and you could remove all the songs, and that's a good example, right? You could remove all the songs from Blood Brothers, and it would still work completely. And there's that guy's most compelling argument. Oh, this doesn't need the songs. It's a play that's been interrupted with these songs. Yeah, well, you know what? The songs add so freaking much.
They really do. And actually, we were talking about Shakespeare and the soliloquies and all that. I remember one of my favorite productions I've ever seen of Shakespeare was The Taming of the Shrew, that was actually set in Ireland.
Yes.
In the
Raymond Keane was in that
in 1916.
He directed me in a clowning show once.
And what they did is that
I was
not
just
Catherine.
name dropping, and Deborah ignored me.
Yes, totally.
I knew like 3 people in that production.
So they got all the soliloquies by Catherine, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, they got her soliloquies to be. They put it to Irish music.
All right.
So she sang them, and they were so much more powerful because she sang them, because it felt very kind of. They use obviously kind of folksy Irish music, and it sounded so good, and it was so different. And it broke, because obviously soliloquies in Shakespeare are just like the actor is talking to the audience and no one else can hear the actor, and it kind of just works. It works that it's set to music. It works that it is musical, which is the case for a lot of musicals. And that reminds me for some reason of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a great show with musical numbers,
Great
and it's just great.
Non-diegetic music.
There you go.
Music the audience can't, the characters can't hear. Although she can hear it though.
Oh well, there you go. But yeah, so it's a good one. But yeah, I think that I think overall, after all this discussion, I think maybe the message is that if you think you don't like musicals, give it a chance, because I think it's very tough and very unfair to judge all musicals based on 1 or 2 that you've seen.
Or an Angela Weber.
Or yeah, well, indeed. I was actually going to mention this, that I think musical theatre has come really, really far, and there are a lot of new and exciting things being made.
And actually, I'm only joking, because Angela Weber's written some great stuff, and Angela Weber was for me as a kid, was actually like the guy who was the only composer I knew by name, and I knew I liked his stuff. Like, he's become a bit of a cliche now, but that's only because he's becoming kind of the Gilbert and Sullivan. He's old hat now. You know? His stuff is old, and look, he's done great stuff.
Yeah, he does. Yes, but if you don't like that,
yeah.
because I think the Andrew Lloyd Webber has very much his style, and you kind of recognize an Andrew Lloyd Webber show when you see it, even if you don't know it's by him. But if that's what you've seen, if you've seen Phantom and you thought, oh, that's not for me, not all musicals are like that. And I think that's the important thing to take from this. If you like things like, if you are a millennial like us and you watch and you grew up with Lion King and you grew up with all these Disney films and you love them and you know all the songs to them, you like musicals.
It's true. You like musicals. You just don't know it yet. So go and see Hamilton, and then you'll definitely like musicals.
Oh, but there's so many different ones. I can't even, I won't even start again. But there's so many different.
They're the gateways, we've agreed.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah.
And as I said, my absolute number key thing to take away, or my key argument, is that musical theatre do not sacrifice any of the tools that other mediums have.
No.
They have an additional tool. So therefore they actually have a lot more going on, and a lot more and a lot more a lot more that they can do. And if you want to say that musicals are bad, then you need more substantiated argument than they lack nuance, have bad songs, and there's an intermission.
Yep.
So that's all we have time for today on Restricted View Podcast. Once again, apologies for not having that Be More Chill review. We will have a review for you next week. Although it might not be More Chill because we haven't rebooked that yet. Well, actually, it definitely won't be because it's not reopening until.
Oh yeah, until the 19th. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have to put that on the long finger for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
But we will be seeing a show this Friday, and they're recording over the weekend for next Monday's episode, which we will endeavour to release on time next week. This late episode will hopefully be a one-time blip.
Or maybe a 2-time. Who knows? Yes, guys, thank you so much for listening. Let us know what you thought of it. Let us know what you think of musicals. Do you like musicals? You must like musicals if you're listening to this.
Yeah, I mean, we're not a musical theatre podcast. We're a theatre podcast, and we do love plays as well.
Yes.
We will do a top 5 plays at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll do it in defence of plays. Maybe.
Oh, look at that.
Over film snobs or something. But But yeah, but yes, I think it's unlikely you're listening if you're really against musical theatre. But let us know if you are. Let us know if you are.
And why? Why?
And give us
good reasons.
Yeah, give us a better argument that we can actually have a proper formal discussion with, as opposed to unsubstantiated rubbish. Head over to restricted.view on Instagram. Please do comment. Let us know what you think of the news. If you're excited about everyone's talking about Jamie coming. What you think about the new changes to the COVID rules?
Yeah.
It's good. It's going to keep theatres open. Is it a problem in terms of spreading?
We don't know.
We don't know. We'll find out. What do you think? Let us know what your skips are. What songs you don't like from musicals you do like, and let us know what you think about musical theatre in general.
Yes, and well, thank you for listening to us, and we'll see you next time.
See you guys. Bye.